Come on and wake up. Listen to your heart now. See what's going on.
This is probably the experience that other people in your life are having because you're pasting your past onto other people in your life and you're asking them to play a role. And so the therapist might say in his own mind that I am now having an experience that a lot of other people in your life probably have with you too. You're probably bringing out whatever feeling I'm feeling in the other people in your life. Let's say there is somebody who is just complaining and saying how that nothing ever changes, and they just keep talking about it, and the therapist starts feeling like, I don't know how to help this person. And so the therapist thinks in their mind, what is it I'm feeling right now? I'm feeling helpless. I'm feeling hopeless, all right? Now, whatever feeling that's coming up in them, they can make an assumption that that's what you're feeling. You're probably feeling that feeling, and you're trying to create an experience in them so they can feel that feeling, so somebody will understand what you're feeling. I know that sounds very confusing, but a lot of times the request we're making of other people is we want them to feel what we felt when we were feeling powerless or helpless or needy or sad or fearful. We want to create that experience into someone else so we don't feel alone anymore. We want someone to understand us. So the same way when we're talking to someone, we want to have that feeling that they get us and they understand us. If we can create them having that emotional feeling that we already have in ourselves, then we're not alone anymore. Okay, so I know I said a lot there. But a good therapist will be able to think about that and think, what is it I'm feeling? That must be what you're feeling. Are you feeling this? I'm feeling a little like this. Are you feeling this? What's going on for you? And the really cool thing about the subconscious, all those memories and all the experiences and emotions and energy and all this chemistry that's in our body, because chemistry goes along with emotions and feelings. So when we have a recognition of some past thought we had, some past event we had, when it comes up for us, our brain starts wiring and firing down that associative pathway that takes us right to that moment. Takes us right to that experience when we felt that before, when all that whole conglomeration of the thoughts we were having and the feelings we were feeling and that experience we had and why we identified ourselves, the roles, the goals, the script, everything in that, our mind, it's like doing a Google search. It's like an inquiry. Like you ask the question, you send it into Google, and it brings up all the related searches. Well, our mind is way more powerful than Google. So when you have a particular emotion, you have a particular way of being, and you're bringing up all this energy and chemicals and all this stuff inside you, your mind can pick that up, and you'll have a flash of a memory of something that happened, and you go, oh my gosh, I just remembered something happened when I was 8 years old. Oh my God, my dad was in the living room, and I was making myself a grilled cheese sandwich, and I walked out into the living room, and my dad was on the floor, and I was like, I dropped my sandwich, and the thing is, it's like the mind is so brilliant that you can literally, it's almost like being there again. You can literally see everything that your senses picked up. You know, that video camera that picks up 11 million to 40 million bits of information, it's right, it's all in there. It got recorded, especially with high emotional states. All that stuff comes up. So when you bring yourself back to it, you can literally talk about it. You can see yourself in it. You can feel the feelings you were feeling. You can, everything that happened, you can actually relive that. You can recognize it. You can bring it up in your mind and watch it as if it's happening again. Because our bodies and minds are so brilliantly created to be able to do that, we are doing this all the time when we're with our partners. when we're trying to bring this stuff up so we can look at it with a conscious mind as we are today. Because when you're 8 years old, you don't have the same consciousness, understanding, and knowing that you have when you're 40 years old. So when you're 40 years old, if you relive an experience, it's like you're looking in from the outside, but you're actually, all that experience of that was recorded. So you can look at it and you can say, oh my God, I was only 8 years old. And because of that experience, I feel like there's something wrong with me, that I'm hopeless, or I feel like I have no power to help the people I love, or whatever, whatever story you created about that as an 8-year-old, you can now look back in as a 40-year-old and say, whoa, I was so hard on myself. I was only 8. Of course I didn't know what to do. Of course I didn't know to call 911. Of course I stayed there and didn't do what I, as a 20-year-old would have known to do, or as a 40-year-old would have known to do. So sometimes if we don't consciously go back and look at that, we don't realize how hard we've been on ourselves through all these years. So sometimes it takes someone to come into our life to help us relive that experience so we can make up a new story based on what we know today, where we have more compassion for ourselves and more understanding for ourselves, and take care of that little person who made up all this negative stuff about themselves based on some experience they had in the past. Okay, now, I'm going to tell you about a time that I actually relived an experience, and I watched it happening as I was there. It happens, everybody has this happen time and time again. It's just that a lot of people have had very positive experiences, so they're pasting positive things on someone else's face, lucky for you. But if you are pasting negative experiences onto other people's faces, then I'm going to show you how this happens and what you can do about it. All right, so one night I was with my boyfriend, and his eyesight is not real good, so he doesn't like to drive at night. So he's already okayed me to share this with you. So, all right, so we somehow ended up taking longer to do something than we expected. It got dark really fast, and all of a sudden we're out on the road and it's dark. It was a rainy night, and people drive real crazy. It was like after work time. So I didn't realize that he was feeling nervous about being out at that time because it had just turned dark. Okay, but his visibility was really tough to see. All right, so what had happened was my car had recently, the engine had blown up. And I was asking him about using his second car. And he said something to me that was really short and really quick, and it had to do with, like, his roommate was okay to use a car, but I wasn't. And that struck me, like I felt like I wasn't important. I wasn't important to him in that moment. And when I asked him the question about it, and he answered me really quickly and short, all of a sudden, I was sitting on the passenger seat and he was driving. All of a sudden, I felt this shoo. It was like someone grabbed me. It was kind of like a Christmas Carol when the ghost of Christmas past came and grabbed Scrooge and took him back into the past to look at something. It was like someone had done that to me. Like I just went into this tunnel into the past. And I was sitting there, and I recalled feeling the same feelings in my body that I felt I had an experience when my dad was driving and I was sitting next to him. And he was really stern with me, and he said something to me that felt bad. And I felt powerless in that moment to say or do anything. And I sat there for a minute, and I said, whoa, what just happened? Like, what am I feeling? What is going on for me right now? And I realized that I had this flashback of sitting there with my father driving and me in the passenger seat. And, I had just recently learned, when you said this to me, I felt hurt. Was that your intention? So I said that. And the instruction that I got from this person, I got this on YouTube. The person said, whatever they answer, just say, okay. Don't say anything else. Just say, okay. If they say, yeah, I meant to hurt you. Or if they say, oh, hell no, you're just making something up. Whatever it is they say, you just say, okay, nothing else. So I did that. I said, when you said this, whatever it was he said, like, whatever it was, I felt hurt. Was that your intention? Okay, that was it. All right. I don't remember right now today if he answered me or not. But I just sat there with it. And because I didn't need to have any more talk, I was able to go inside myself and ask myself, what just happened? Because I didn't know I was sitting with my dad. I didn't know why this thing happened, why this sudden emotion overcame my whole body as I sat there next to my boyfriend, who I know is not my father. So I sat there and I'm going inside myself and asking myself, what just happened? Why do I